Hi, and welcome to another episode of CCPA Playbook. Today is a special guest, the Honorable Judge Amber Thomas. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good.
On a Monday morning?
A Monday morning.
You ready to fly into the week?
As ready as I'm going to be on a Monday morning.
Do we call you Judge, Your Honor? How do we do this? I don't want to offend the judgeships.
So
it doesn't matter
to me. I actually, my first day, I told them that they needed to announce me as Your Majesty.
Your Majesty.
So, but yes, I mean, it really.
It's funny. We after I had won the election back in 2020, I guess the Department of Elections sends you this certificate of you won kind of thing, and on it for the first time, Nancy saw where it was written, the Honorable Cregg Dalton, and so she was getting the mail at that point, and she brings it in and she goes, "I'm never calling you this. I'm never calling you this." And so we have mutual friends that that is something they will always say, right? Just because they know it gets at her. And I hate it. I just call me Cregg, right? Or I don't even like when people call me Mr. Dalton, just call me Cregg. But how does that go over with you? Like, I mean, you're Judge Thomas or Your Honor.
So when I'm out in public, I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Simply because, as we were told, it is a huge security risk.
Sure.
A huge security risk. So when I'm out in public, I always try to be like, if they say anything, I'll just say hi before they say my name. But when we're in the courtroom or when we're in court or around people, then it's usually just
very proper.
Yeah. Judge or Your Honor. A lot of times people will just say Your Honor because it's more simple.
I'm trying to think. We were somewhere and you had a security guard, and I'm like, you've made it if you're walking around with a security guard. And we didn't even want to come like 10 feet from you because we were like, I don't want to be I guess we could call it like a Swiftie. Yes, that's right. Yeah, he was not leaving your side.
They tell me I'm a security risk because I have a bad habit of being impatient. And if they're not like there, I'm like, go, and they're like, no. I'm like, I wear heels. I can protect myself.
Yeah, take the heel off and hit them with it.
But apparently that's not how it goes. So,
it is amazing. I can tell you, I'm very jealous that your, your election time period, ours is 4 years. You get 6. So like where you only have to run like twice and I have to run 3 times. Like, so it's good, but super congratulations. I'm very, very excited for you. I didn't know you before this previous campaign season, I guess. And I know that when Nancy and I would run into you out on the campaign trail, we loved being around you. You're super positive and it's easy to get behind somebody like that. Right. And I will tell you to be sworn in as a property appraiser, not very dramatic, right? Not very. It's a big celebration, obviously, and it was good. But I thought like your swearing in was very ceremonious. Like it was very. I know that courts are normally theatrical, but that was pretty impressive. And I put that up there with Sheriff Vincent swearing in because that was a pretty big deal.
His was a tearjerker.
Yeah. But I would tell you, I guess maybe because I've been around some law enforcement swearing ins and it wasn't, to me, it was okay. Right. It was great. And Sheriff Vincent, that was a great moment for him and his family. But like yours was cool. Like yours was cool because when you walk in, the room was packed, and
which was it was
And then to have, I think probably the coolest part for me was having all the judges there, and I don't know if that's just normal protocol, but that was pretty impressive. That was pretty impressive.
So I did not realize this until because I'd gone to, I was in the court system. So because I worked with the judges, I would try to go to as many investitures as I could. But until recently.
Look, you even have a cool word for it.
Investiture. Yeah, it's
Yeah, we
very
should create that
fancy.
word for property appraisers somehow. Propitures or something. We'll call it some funky name, but investiture, it's even got a cool name.
Yeah, the worst part was when I was doing my programs and stuff, I had to keep making sure that I didn't spell things wrong, or because I had to keep like things would change.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I just printed 200 invites. Now I have to print 200 more. But yeah, it's a cool name. But I realized that I guess the judges all like to see how many judges come. And so it's a cool thing if you have a high number of judges that come from different counties. And being a county court judge, most of the time you don't have as big of a turnout. So it was very heartfelt to see so many people, and a lot of them I worked with, which was very appreciative that they took the time, especially since it was kind of short notice, because I did it very quickly because I had plenty of time to plan.
Right.
So in my mind, I wanted to do it. So as soon, I didn't want to drag it out. I wanted to do it. And then as soon as my investiture was over, I went to judicial college, and then I could hit the ground running with my docket and focus on that and not
judicial
have to worry.
college. Did you show up in class in your robes? Because I'm imagining like a Harry Potter and all their robes in the classes and stuff. But
no, we didn't. One of the other, Aaron Daly.
Oh yeah.
The honorable
Aaron
Daly. So she also, judicial college, we all were elected, so it's all new judges. And of course I was running late, and it was the day before, so I wasn't late for the actual college, but I was late to check in and all worried. And I'm calling her and I'm like, hey, did you get there already? And I'm in Claremont, like I'm on the turnpike in Claremont. And I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. And she's like, well, you grabbed your robe, right? And I was like, Aaron, don't even. I was like, are you serious? And she's like, you didn't bring your robe? They sent the email out that you were supposed to bring your robe. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And she's like, oh, I'm just joking. And she's must have laughed. And I was like,
you're like crying.
So, but we did not need our robe. But no, nobody shows up in their robe. It was actually very overwhelming, but very humbling at the same time, because you get there and it's just like, wow, I'm a judge. Like I just started last week, and here I am at judicial college surrounded by all these people. And I had a different road to get where I was at.
Oh yeah, we're going to hit that. Don't worry.
Yeah. So that was something I was very nervous about. But then you get there, and I have an amazing mentor, but everyone here in Citrus County, all of the judges have been wonderful. But I get there and I'm nervous, and we start our classes and I'm answering questions, and I was like, I got this. Like, this is good. So it was very, very humbling, very educating, and very reassuring.
Well, I can tell you, you're probably still pinching yourself that you're a judge, right? And I can tell you at the 4.5 year mark for me, I still have to pinch myself that I'm the property appraiser of Citrus County. And it is a huge deal. So let's talk about, I think people don't understand, or maybe may not understand. I don't want to put a label on somebody, but campaigning for a judgeship is totally different than campaigning for any other position. I can, as the property appraiser, and it's this way with any other elected official, I can go out, solicit funds. I can have fundraisers. I can have people put signs in the ground. I can do pretty much anything within the rules of elections. But that's not the case for judges. And it's a lot more stringent. And you would want it to be, right? I get that, the ethics.
It makes sense when you think about
it. Because you're going to be a judge, right? So like, what are the differences so compared to what we can do?
So the biggest difference, I think, is how you get support. As a judicial candidate, we can ask for your support in backing us, but we cannot. And even with that, it's a thin line, because we cannot have anything to do with the finances. We can't ask for financial support. We can't handle money in any way. We cannot.
But if somebody wanted to donate money to you, they could do that.
So So sometimes judges will be their own
It's tricky.
treasurer,
Yeah.
but it's not a good idea.
Sure.
I got a campaign manager almost right away, and I got a treasurer right away. Now, the treasurer that I had, she was amazing with numbers, has never been involved with political anything, but she was so.
Me either.
She loved. Yeah. I know. Well, I was like, good. We're gonna do this together because I've never been involved with politics either. We're both kind of gonna do this together, but I cannot have anything to do with finances, money. She ran my Facebook, or my campaign manager ran my Facebook page, my social media, because it would ask, like, it had a link that people could donate to. I had nothing to do with that. The only thing with the finances that I had was I would sit down with my treasurer. We would go over the report when we would do our reports. That was the only thing. I never touched the money. I never dealt with it. I never had anything. I can't ask for financial support. Even when we did fundraisers, I couldn't say anything. I could come to the fundraiser. I pretty much would show up. I would give my speech, and then I would have to either leave if they were asking for financial support, or they would do it before I got there. I couldn't even be in the room if they were asking for financial support. I could have absolutely nothing to do with the money. So, and I think that's the biggest, because you're relying on somebody else to raise your money, and it makes it hard, because sometimes people are hesitant to donate if they're not able to donate to the actual candidate.
And I can I've mentored some elections, and I'm sure I'll do it in the future, but the person writing the check wants to write it to the person they're writing it to. I mean, they want to talk to the person they're writing to. And I always tell candidates, not judges, obviously, but they want to hear from the candidate, right? And you need to make it personal, because they're writing their name on a check. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. But let's talk about this. Growing up, did you always know you wanted to be a judge?
So no, I knew I wanted to do something to help people. Like, I knew I wanted to be in a position to where I could be a positive influence, that I could, I mean, my dad was essentially a stay-at-home dad. I mean, he was Mr. Mom, and he did insurance and stuff like that on the side, but essentially he was Mr. Mom. Like,
did you grow up here in Citrus County?
I did. I grew up in Lecanto. My mom and her husband are living in the house that we grew up in, which is really cool. It looks different now. They've done a lot of updates to it, but my dad passed away in 2015. And then
bunch of DIYs, huh?
Do what?
Like do-it-yourself projects?
Yes.
They've been watching HGTV.
So no, my dad did not. But my mom's new husband, he redid the bathroom. And I mean, there's a lot of my grandparents lived there for a little bit. And I mean, it looks cool going back and seeing how it's still the same house, but it looks completely different. But it's nice. But yeah, I grew up in Citrus County. And when I knew my mom is a nutritionist. So I grew up at the health department and seeing the impact that my mom had with people. And I knew medical field was not the way I was going to go, because I don't do blood. I don't do anything like that. And then my senior year of high school, I did an externship through my REACH class with now Judge Carney, but at the time he was a lawyer. And I saw how he interacted with these people. And I will never forget this. I was working in the front, don't know who the guy is. He doesn't know who the guy is, but this gentleman came in, and it was the first time I had seen a grown man just terrified. I mean, in tears, sitting in the lobby, just bawling his eyes out. I'm guessing it was a criminal case, but I check him in, tell Judge Carney, or Mr. Carney at the time, but I told him, hey, whatever appointment is here. He goes, has the meeting with him, and the guy comes out, and it was like a completely different person. He just had this look of hope on him. Right. And it shocked me, because I'm like, this guy was just bawling his eyes out like a little baby 30 minutes ago. So of course my little high school self, not having anything really to do with the law, I was like, what did you tell him? Like, I'm thinking he told him, oh yeah, we're going to get you off, this guy. And he's like, I told him the truth. Like, I told him, like, we had a consultation, we talked, like, I told him, this is how it's going to be. Like, this may be. And he was just honest with him. And I was like, yeah, but like, you had to tell him something. Cause he came out and he was like, Amber, if you're honest with them, then they know that you're going to be there for them. Like, if you treat people with the same respect that you want. And it blew my mind that that's how it, because, in your head, you have these criminal defense attorneys that they're all just getting the bad guys off. And it's like, but everybody's innocent until proven guilty. And we have this mindset, I think, in our country that everybody bases the law on TV. So I saw that and I was like,
oh, we're going to get into that too.
So I was like, I want to go into the law. Like
so as a senior in high school, you knew
senior in high school, I knew but I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be a judge yet. I just knew I wanted to get into law because I knew that there were so many different areas. And so I went to college, came back, and when I Bluefield,
not the ice cream.
No,
that's Bluebird. I think
it is.
Yeah,
Bluebird or Blue Bunny. Blue Bunny.
Blue Bunny. I don't know. One of those. One of those. So you went out of state.
I did. Yeah. I had to get out of state. I needed a break. I grew up with the same people.
Well, you went to the same school complex for 12 years.
I did.
Pretty much.
I did. And it was, and I mean, we had this little group of friends and they were great people to surround. Everybody has been successful. But I needed to get away. I've lived in Florida my whole life. I never really went outside of Florida. I saw my snow, I saw my seasons, and I came back.
Yeah, that's because it was in Virginia?
In Virginia.
So you went from Florida to Virginia.
Yes.
4 years.
It's actually, so Bluefield, there's a Bluefield, Virginia and a Bluefield, West Virginia. So when you drive to the school, you go into West Virginia, into Virginia, into West Virginia. Like, it's like right on the border. So there's a bank at the stoplight. You can stand with one leg in Virginia,
on both,
leg in West Virginia. Yeah. So my apartment was in West Virginia, and the college was actually in Virginia, and I was about half a mile from the college.
So we actually have something in common, that we both have Bachelor of Science degrees in criminal justice. You're actually doing something with yours. My Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice, which is sitting on the wall over there, is not absolutely being used at all. But it
great wall.
It looks pretty on the wall over there, and it did serve a purpose for a little while. I was in law enforcement for a little while, but like you, my senior year, I also worked for an attorney who is now a judge over in Sumter, Michelle Morley.
She just recently retired.
Yeah. Awesome Irish lady. She was very stern, and so back in the day, I actually worked for. So the first step was I worked at her office, and then I went to work for the public defender's office over in Lake County. So that was super cool as a young guy. But like you, I needed to leave. I was going to go to community college. I did go to community college, but I was like, I got to get out of here. This is over in Lake County. I didn't grow up in Citrus, but I just had no idea what I wanted to do. So that was good that you had Judge Carney as a role model, as a mentor, because I did not have that. And so but the law is so amazing. And okay, so let's keep going with your story. Our listeners have heard my story plenty. But you go up to college in Virginia, you get your degree in criminal justice, and then what happens after that?
So I came back. I actually graduated about a half a semester early.
Of course you did, because you're highly intelligent.
Well, and also, so I had like a little medical issue.
Oh. Because you were in the mountains in West Virginia.
Yeah. It gets you.
Yeah, it gets you up there.
I had a heart issue, so we took care of that. I graduated, came back. I knew I was wanting to go to law school, but I wanted to bring up my LSATs, and I just kind of wanted to do something for that little gap between December and when I started school.
Sure.
So I went passed out applications, got a job with Jim Neal here in
Oh, yeah.
Inverness.
Okay.
And wonderful guy. Another great mentor that I had, and started working with him. And what was supposed to be just a couple month thing ended up being about 1.5 years, until he finally called me into his office and said, listen, I don't want to lose you, but you came here with the purpose of getting some experience before you went to law school.
Right.
So I'm not going to be the reason you don't go to law school. So you either go to law school or you're getting fired.
No.
So, and he did it, and he was joking around, but he knew that that's what I wanted. He knew that my plan was to go to law school, and he didn't want me to get kind of stuck in being his assistant because I was helping run his office. I was enjoying my job, but he knew I had more potential.
So that was probably was that your first experience in case prep? Or did you do that with Carney?
So I would say probably that was my first experience with really diving into cases. Now he did mostly real estate, and he did some civil litigation, but that was definitely my first experience in really diving into cases and going through the cases and making sure, like case prep, making sure what was in there, what was needed, the various steps of the process of a case, the life of a case, so to say. And it was very informative, but that's also where I met different people in the courthouse here, where I made some connections, because where I was his assistant, and honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I think he hired me because when I was a senior, I got the Bar Association scholarship, and that was something that I had on my resume, because as a fresh out of college, your resume is not super thick.
Right.
So it was little things like
somebody
that
to give you a chance.
And so he took me in, and we clicked, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But then once we had that talk, I was like, all right, I get you. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So after we did that, then I left and went to law school, and that was a little bit different than what I had planned, but that's okay.
Did you know at that point, so you're 22, 23-ish, did you know what sort of law you wanted to get into?
No idea. You always think that you want to go into criminal law because that's where it's exciting and that's where it's fun. I enjoyed real estate, even though reading legal descriptions gave me headaches, but I liked seeing how you could help. Like, we had one case that I helped him with was the one trial that I remember doing with him, and seeing, just helping these people. It was I just can't even think of the name of the case, but it was a property out in Ozello, and seeing their faces and just the help and the relief that somebody listened to him, somebody was helping him. It was a family property, and the water lines and the flooding and dispute over who owned what land, and land disappeared because it's Ozello and the water rises. And it really intrigued me. So I thought that's where I was wanting to go. I really thought I would go back to his practice, but it took me longer than planned to get through law school, since I was one of those smart people that had a child my first semester. But I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, to be honest. And that's why I think the first job that I had was, to me, the perfect job, because I didn't know what I wanted.
And that's okay. I think that we get, I do a lot of high school mentoring, and we're in the schools a lot. And I think society, I don't want to put this on just anybody, but a lot of society tells their kids, you have to have a plan. And that's not necessarily the case. My plan, I can tell you, I never envisioned that I would be the Citrus County property appraiser. You know what I mean? So for you to not have a plan was okay. I mean, you kind of had a general course, right? You needed to get your degree, you needed to go to law school, and then you would sort of figure it out, right?
That's why I tell my son, I said, you don't have to know what you want to be,
Right.
but you have to have a plan to be successful. So you don't have to say, I know I'm going to be this job and I have to do, and these are all the steps, but okay, if you want to have a professional career, you're going to have something to build that professional career on. So go to school, see what you like, see what interests you, get some type of degree that you can fall back on, and then see where life takes you. Have a plan, but don't have it so set in stone that if it doesn't go your way, then everything is destroyed and lost. And I'm like, because that's not life. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know exactly how things are going to go. Just have a plan to be successful. Have a general road that you're on and see where the road takes you.
I try to tell most young people, listen, you just have a strong work ethic. That's the key, right? And I have a unique story where I've got military in my background. I went to a trade school. I went to a community college. I went to a university for my degrees. And so I took a bunch of different paths, but it got me exactly where I'm at today. And that's what I tell people. That's what I tell my daughter, right? I mean, and she's a lot different because she's hyper focused on her stuff. So it makes it a lot easier, and she's 20 times smarter than me and her mom. But and so you're in Barry, right? Barry University is where you go to law school. That's a good law school. Nothing wrong with that. And so you finished law school eventually.
I did,
of course. So what's the next chapter after finishing with your JD?
So obviously the next step is the bar, which is the most stressful thing that I have ever experienced.
Even more than a campaign?
I would say yes. Wow. Simply because with the campaign, if I didn't win, then you still, there's still like I
life
still
after
could be a lawyer. I still could try again down the road. But with the bar, if you don't pass the bar, you're not a lawyer.
True.
So
good point.
It's one of those that, I mean, I sat next to somebody that I want to say he was taking it for the 6th time.
I was about to say, what's the pass percentage on the first attempt? Do you know?
I know it's gone down. So I know it's been going down. I did not pass it my first time. I want to say 4 or 5 points off because my advisor told me, you can fight it. Like, if you challenge it in your essay, you probably will get the couple points and like you'll be able. And I said, listen, I don't want to deal with that because I'm with my son. It's hard enough trying to balance studying. I mean, I was studying at SeaWorld. So I would take him to SeaWorld and he loved the, I'm drawing a blank on the name, the sea lion show.
Yeah.
And so we would go there and we'd probably watch it 3 times a day. We'd go there. I'd have my little note cards and he would be watching the show and I would be doing my little flashcards while I'm sitting there and him.
So
watching.
The sea otter or the sea lion was your babysitter while you were studying.
That was my babysitter. And then we'd take a break. We'd go do a couple of the little rides and then come back for the next show and go through my little flashcards. And he doesn't remember me not being 100% present with him because he would laugh and I'd respond to him and probably I would sometimes laugh at things and maybe I don't even know what I was laughing at, but I would hear him laugh and I would respond. And he doesn't remember that I was on the things, but he does remember that sea lion show because he said that they went back. He went with his friend a couple months ago and he's like, I saw it. And I was like, I remember this when I was a kid. He goes, but it's different now. And I'm like, well, you're different now.
Yeah, right.
You're a little more grown up. It probably doesn't have the same.
So how many attempts did it take you?
Just 2. The second time I blew it out of the water. So
you learn from your failure, right? Exactly. And I think that's a key that I think we push. I say push. I encourage conversations about with all of our staff that it's okay to fail, right? Like it's okay to fail and because you're going to learn from it, you're going to be a better person because of it. You're going to be a better employee because of it. As long as you learn from that failure, that's where I don't have an issue. If you don't learn from your failure, then that's my biggest issue. And that's where my concern comes from. So you passed the bar on the second attempt.
I passed the bar, and then I grew up with the original Judge Thomas, and I wanted her
The OG.
The OG. Yeah. Every time people were like, every time we say Judge Thomas, I'm like Judge Thomas 2.0.
Yeah. There we go.
To be like the original.
She's awesome. She's
She's
Judge Falvey. Judge Falvey's always going to be one of my favorites. She is a no nonsense judge. I had plenty of cases in front of various judges back in my law enforcement days, and had unfortunately a couple of them in front of Judge Falvey. Love her, right? She's amazing.
They are both excellent role models.
Yeah.
And I have been blessed with having female role models. I mean, right here in Citrus County. I grew up with Judge Thomas, so I've seen her. I didn't get to work with her a whole lot before she retired, but I did get some. I mean, she is the one that I would say help. She told me about the position.
Right.
When I went to, and that's what I was saying is I was having her swear me in, and her and Mr. Neal, they both swore me in as an attorney. And so when I was talking with Kathy Rector, who was her JA at the time, and I want to say it was the Friday before I was getting sworn in on Monday. It was the Friday before I was looking for a suit, and they called and they're like, hey, get your resume ready. There's a staff attorney position open. I'm like, what is a staff attorney? Like, I haven't even heard of that before. So they're like, she wanted me to let you know, get your resume ready. You need to fill out the application when you're here. So I was like, okay, like that sounds good. But yeah, that was the next step was finding a job.
Right. Because now you got to take care of your people, right?
Yeah.
And you got to figure out what's next for you. So the staff attorney comes open, where that's not a normal path, right? I mean, normally you would just go.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. It's a trial court, law clerk, staff attorney. They have different names for it. But
so my mom was a paralegal when I was growing up. My biological mom was a paralegal when I was growing up. And I worked for a public defender, and I worked for attorneys. And then obviously in the law world, the last, 15 years, I've never heard of a staff attorney.
Most people have not.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
It is. Once I saw the job and I started doing the job, I thought, this is perfect. This is perfect for people who are coming out of law school, who really don't know what they want. Now, it's different counties do it different ways. I started in Hernando, and in Hernando, we got assigned to specific judges. So we had specific dockets that we dealt with those judges. In Citrus, we did it all. We worked with every judge, county, circuit. Like, it didn't matter. You weren't assigned to a specific judge, so you didn't have a specific docket. You worked on whatever the judges needed help with. That's what you worked on. So which
so you're reviewing case law or old cases, or so what is your kind of, in short summary, what was your main job?
So what a law clerk does is they research complex issues for the judge. They draft proposed orders, and they assist the judge in working on motions or prepping motions for them. Judges have so much on their plate. They have so much that they're doing, and all of the judges, and I'm seeing it now as well, they all prepare. They all know their dog. They, like, when I would work on a motion, it wasn't like I was working on the motion and the judge didn't work on the motion as well. They just had other stuff that they were working on. So they would look at it, and then I would look at it, and I would do the research. I would point out, okay, this is the issues. This is not the issues. Most of the time, when I first started, I would do memos for them. Then it got to the point, especially when we were getting more things, I would just come and talk to them and be like, okay, this is what their motion says. These are the issues that they raised. This is what the case law says about this. Neither of the parties cited to this case, but I think this is a more applicable case that just came out. And so it was, I would let them know, here's all the issues. And then they would have the hearing. And I always loved it when Judge Falvey would call and be like, they did exactly what you said. I'm like, I know. So she'd be like, they did it. And then when I asked them about this case, they were like, oh, we didn't see that case. So that was always reassuring when
And it built confidence,
It
of
did.
course.
It did.
Right.
And so I worked on civil. I worked on a lot of post-conviction. The criminal side, we did mostly post-conviction, which is after the defendant has been convicted by the jury and been sentenced. They would be able to file post-conviction, which is things that they're claiming went wrong during the trial or during the pretrial issues, things like that.
I always tell people I was always on the detective side of it. And you know, so I was always there with the state attorney, you know, prosecuting cases and stuff. But I will always lean into the fact that our court system, I know there's going to be a lot of beliefs out there, is a beautiful thing. It literally is. It's a beautiful process. You know, we at the property appraiser's office, we have what's called a value adjustment board, and it's the closest thing that we're going to have to the court system, where we bring our evidence to a value adjustment board hearing. We call it VAB, and then the other party brings their evidence, and then there's a special, we call them special magistrates, so quasi judge,
Right.
and they're and it's a great thing, and I think everybody has a right to do that, or not think, everybody has a right to go there. I always tell people that I've never sat on a jury. Never. And I want to. Like, all these people are like hating getting jury notices. Like, I want it. I wish they would send me one, because I would go. I would do it, and I would not try to get out of it. Like, I want to be on the biggest cases, because I want to see it. Like, I want to see it from that end, because I've been on the other end.
Right.
And you know, so I can't even imagine what it's like to be a judge. And I say the word theater because, like, I don't say that in a negative way. I think it's so theatrical, and it's theater, and yeah. Listen, there's some defense attorneys out there, and there's some state attorneys that are pretty theatrical, but I think it's a beautiful thing. I think so many people get used to TV, and you know, and that's not the real deal, right?
Oh, no.
And like, I can tell you, as a former military, former law enforcement, I don't watch military movies and I don't watch cop shows. Do you watch Law and Order, or do you watch any? Did you grow up watching Night Court? I mean, how was that?
So no, we didn't watch a whole lot of TV growing up. We
had the 3 channels like us.
Yeah, if it was good.
Yeah.
We got to do the rabbit ears.
Aluminum foil.
Yes. We had that tall tower too, so if it was like raining, like we had to like pin it to the house. No, I like the like cold case files and things like that, because those to me seem more realistic. But I can't do Law and Order and CSI or even the show Suits. We used to watch that when
that was going to be one of my questions. I'm a Suits fan. I mean, I like Harvey Specter, and
I was like, there's no way that this guy would be practicing law for so long. Nobody would be able to figure out that he didn't go to law school. So yeah,
you just ruined it for me.
Far. You know, it's very first.
I know.
Like, it
was such a great show, though. I couldn't get lit. Like, you got lit up, you know, kind of thing. So you didn't even watch Suits LA? Like, you haven't even watched?
No.
Got to.
So when I don't know, Suits came out a while ago when I first started watching it, and I didn't.
That was before you were Judge Thomas, though.
It was.
So now it might.
Was just the lawyer part of it, and I was like, that would never happen.
Like flicking your hair back.
It's like, how dare my butt to get this? He just walks. He's a smarty pants.
I mean, he did
escape the law.
Well, I mean, he did pass the bar exam, so I mean, he's super smart. All right, so you become, so you're the staff assistant or judicial assistant, whatever word staff attorney.
Staff attorney.
What point and how long did you do that for?
So I did that for I don't do math.
Just ish. I like the word ish.
11-ish years.
Ish. Oh wow. So you got to learn under a bunch of very highly talented, highly educated judges.
I did. I worked with a lot because I worked in Hernando, and then I worked in Citrus. But when I came to Citrus, I also became part of what was called the appellate panel. So then I also worked with the judges that were on our circuit's appellate panel.
So that's the 5th Judicial Circuit, correct?
The 5th Judicial Circuit, yes.
Yep. So that encompasses Marion, Lake, Sumter, Hernando, Citrus.
Citrus, yes.
Are you proud of me? I knew that.
I know. I am impressed.
I've been around the 5th Judicial a little bit. It's okay. But so you've got a pretty interesting story, because I can tell you, and I'll set the stage for you. When I found out the property appraiser before me was going to retire, I had a head start. I had a head start with being able to have conversations with people. I had conversations with my family, obviously, lots of prayer time. So I had some time to prep, whether or not I was going to run or not. And I actually filed to run probably, almost a year before the election. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your walk into an election time?
So I'm going to take maybe about 2 weeks before.
Okay.
I have been encouraged for a while that I need to take the next step to be a judge. I was working with so many judges.
Sure.
I have been told I think like a judge. I act like a judge. I have.
Did you smell like a judge?
Process. Not yet, because I wasn't making that judgment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You were making that judgment. I got you.
So I have been told for a while, you need to start thinking. You need to start thinking out. You need to start prepping. You need to start preparing for that.
The long game.
So
that's my favorite
long
word.
Run. Yeah. I need to start
the long game. Long game. Gotta play the long game.
Okay.
Gotta play the game.
Yeah.
All right.
Long game. All right. I like to think I'm a runner though. So that's why
I hate running.
I don't run. I like to think.
Okay. I didn't know if that was going back to your mom's nutritionist days or whatever.
No. That's why I hate running, but I played soccer. So
here we go again with that word.
I said, right, but like, at least when you're running with soccer, you're chasing a ball. Like you have a purpose. You're not just running around the track or chasing the person in front of you.
Yeah, I get
if I'm just randomly running.
Or holding a baton.
Actually, I did do the 4x16. I did track.
So see, that's too long. That means you had to run 2 laps.
No. You just do the one.
No, you just do the one. 16. Okay, I got you. So I wasn't real good at math.
Yeah, neither was I. I just remember you only had to do the baton. Yeah. And I was always so nervous that handoff, because I was like, I can't screw it up. I can't screw it up. Yeah. Which we didn't. I never dropped it. I don't know if we ever really won anything, but I only did it 1 year. But yeah, so I was being encouraged to do it. And I knew the struggle that I had was my experience was working side by side with the judges. And most people don't understand the value of that, because they just think as a staff attorney, you sit in an office and all you do is do research, which isn't the case, especially in Citrus County, because in Citrus County, the judges really rely on their staff attorneys. And I was given a lot more responsibilities than most staff attorneys, because my judges were wanting me to not just be a career staff attorney. They were wanting me to be a judge. So they wanted to give me more, where I was having to think like a judge and I was having to do more stuff. So we had talked about it, and I had reached out to Blake Shore about putting in an application to go to the state attorney's office to get some trial experience.
So for those that are listening, Blake Shore is an assistant state attorney. I believe his uncle is, what's his name? What's the head guy for
his
the state attorneys?
Rich, isn't it? Oh, no. The state attorney is Bill Gladson.
Yeah. Is that his uncle? Who's his uncle?
No.
Isn't Blake's uncle like or an attorney or something?
His uncle, I think it's, and I'm going to mess up the last name. I know. I think it's Rich.
Okay. He
was the guru of knowledge. He was the one that would give all the
Yoda.
He was the Yoda at the state attorney's office. I learned very quickly.
So you're about to apply to the state attorney's office.
So I did. I applied and I did my interview. I accepted the position with the state attorney's office on Wednesday. And on Thursday, this was the week of qualifying.
So for those
Thursday-
that don't know, qualifying is basically a week period that you have to have all your paperwork in, all your petition cards in, or pay the filing fee.
So the petition cards for the judges was due back in like March.
Okay.
So petition cards weren't even an option at that point.
So to separate the two, judges qualifying period is in April. Where everybody else is in July.
Later, yeah.
Which is, I hate that it's in July, and that's only because, and the only reason why I hate it is because the early ballots get sent out like a couple weeks later. Whereas I think, and it's my understanding, that they're probably going to try to encourage all qualifying for all candidates to be in April, because it just makes more sense.
It does, because it gives you time once you know,
right?
And then you don't potentially vote
So
for
crazy
somebody that you don't realize.
Yeah, I think our qualifying is in June. I said that wrong, because I think it was
June.
June 17th was this last one. And I think the mail-in or the mail-out ballots, the absentee ballots, got mailed like the second week of July. So it's super quick. I wish we were April like you all. So.
Yeah, it was the end of April.
So you're in qualifying.
So we're in the qualifying period, and Wednesday I accepted the job. Thursday we find out. Thursday afternoon we find out that Governor DeSantis appointed Judge Helm to a circuit spot in Lake County. So he was up for re-election.
It's a great place, Lake County, by the way.
It is beautiful.
It is a great place.
It is beautiful. I don't know if it's better than Citrus County.
I love Citrus now. I'm biased to Citrus, hence why I don't live there anymore. But Lake County is an amazing place.
But yeah, so he qualified, or he got appointed Thursday afternoon, and it opened up that spot. And I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it, but
did qualifying end at noon, just like ours? Noon on Friday. So you're on Thursday.
Less than 24 hours. Woo. I had to make the decision if I was going to, and even though I accepted the job with the state attorney on Wednesday, the resignation letter that I had given, I wasn't leaving until
to the state attorney's office.
Well, no, the resignation letter that I gave to
the
Judge Falvey.
I'm like, so you accepted a position with Mr. Shore, and then you give him a resignation letter?
Well, yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So I accepted on Wednesday, but I wasn't going to leave for like another month and a half. And we already discussed that, because I wanted to make sure that the other staff attorney that was here in Citrus County was comfortable, was ready.
Gotcha.
Knew, like, she was prepared. I wanted to make sure that I left my judges, because I became very protective of my judges. I was always like that. Even when I was in Hernando, I felt my job was to make sure, like, my job was to take care of the judges.
Sure.
That was so I've always been very protective. I don't know if that's the right word.
No, yeah,
I always wanted to make
sure. I get that. I can tell you.
My judges were taken care of. They knew that they could call me no matter what time, which I know my boss, the general counsel, was not very happy with this, because he's like, Amber, your job is 8 to 5. I'm like, I know, but if they need something, and he understood it, and he knew, and it worked out okay. But I was just so I wasn't planning on leaving my job until like the middle of June. It was like a month and a half that I was going to leave. So if I qualified, I would have to resign effective immediately. As soon as I qualify, I'd have to resign as a staff attorney, because I was working with the judges. I was an elected official, not an elected. I was running for a position that I would be working with. So I would have to resign effective immediately.
So that does fall under the resign to run law. No? No.
So no, it doesn't fall under such. It's an OSCA, which is,
that's a fancy word.
Yeah, office.
That sounds like sushi.
It's close.
Okay.
Close. OSCA sushi. It not when you say it, it's close at all. But it's a fun word to say. But it's the Office of State Court Administrators.
Oh, okay.
So under there, so I don't fall under the resign to run under the statute, but I do fall under OSCA's, which makes sense, because I'm working for the judges.
Sure.
So
right.
But yeah, so I had to make
I can't even
very
imagine.
Big decision. I was on the phone with some mentors that I had.
Yep.
Till probably about 10:30. I was out in my yard just pacing, praying. This mentor that I talked to, we would talk, and then we'd pray, and then I'd cry, and then we'd pray again, and then the phone would disconnect, and then I'd have like a panic moment, and then they would call back. And so it was a lot of discussion, and probably about 10:30, I walked back in the house.
Well, it's a big deal. I think it doesn't matter if it's a judge or if it's city council, school board, any elected position. Everybody says, "Oh, I can do a great job. I can do a great job. I can do a great job. I'm going to run. I'm going to run." Everybody, I've heard that in my 4.5 years 100 times, but I don't ever believe anybody until you put your name on that paper, because you put your name on a ballot, that's a whole different ball game.
You have to be committed, and that was the biggest.
100%.
That was the biggest discussion point, I would say, is I knew I would be coming in as the underdog, because my experience is different.
I like underdogs.
My experience was different than most judges.
Right.
And
yeah, because that's not the normal path.
It is not the normal path.
Right.
And most people, like I said, people think of trial clerks as just sitting in an office and doing research. They don't realize that you do more. You actually are looking at the motions that the litigants are filing and helping the judges make those decisions. So it's not just sitting in a desk looking at research. It's making sure that the motion that's filed is legally sufficient and is facially sufficient and meets all the guidelines, looking at the case law and looking at both the motion that's filed and looking at the response and making sure, looking at the case, like you're looking at what the litigants are preparing, you're looking at it as the judge and helping the judge make that decision. And so it's hard for people to understand that because it's not a typical thing. So we knew that I was going to be the underdog going into it.
And you look at, like, let's just go through the list, right? You look at Judge Spate. He was a public defender forever. Mm-hmm. You talked about him, Judge Carney. He was an attorney for the longest time.
And the hearing officer.
Which
is a quasi-judicial position.
Judge Morley was an attorney forever. And so that's the path. Some would call you a unicorn. I love unicorns. I don't know if you know, that is my spirit animal. It is my spirit animal. So the underdog is a good thing. I was also an underdog. So I get that, right? Mm-hmm. But there's good things in fear. In fear, you prepare more, you work harder. I always told people that when I ran for 4.5 or 5 years ago, that nobody would outwork me. And that was one of my goals, right? Now, again, we're different than the judges. I was able to raise money. And so I had 3 goals. Nobody was going to outwork me. I was going to raise more money than my opponents, and I was going to have more signs than anybody. And those were our goals, right? Or we actually had 4. We were going to win social media. And we did those 4 things, and that's what won it in. So for you to be an underdog, that just made you work harder. Right?
I did. And I also had, so as soon as I qualified, I mean, I pulled an all-nighter. I stayed up all night filling out my paperwork. I was at the supervisor of elections. Well, there was a couple steps because you had to go to the supervisor of elections and you had to go to the bank.
You had to go to the bank.
You had to go back to the supervisor of elections. But I made sure I had everything, like I was on the phone, trying to get everything organized so I could have like everything done. And to get like the money also, I mean, you had to pull out, and then you had to have, and when you pull out that amount of money, because we didn't have the ability.
Were y'all are the judges the same? Where the filing fee is the percentage of the salary?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean that's a big chunk of change.
It was a big chunk, and so I had to make sure that if I were to get the check from my bank, that the other bank that I was starting my account at, that they would be able to clear it. And I wanted to make sure that everything, like I was on the phone the whole time trying to get everything organized. And then I got it all done, and I called my friend who was kind of like my supervisor, staff attorney. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just did it. And she was actually
It almost makes you want to puke, doesn't it?
Oh, I was sick to my stomach. And she was in a meeting with the general counsel, who was our boss. And he's like, I want to say stuff to you, but I can't say stuff to you yet because you're still working with me. But I just want to let you know that you have to resign effective like now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it didn't really hit me.
It didn't sink in.
It didn't sink in. So I get back to my office and the other girl's there. And so I'm like telling her like, hey, you know, this is stuff that has to be done. I do my resignation letter and I do it and I send it. And then he calls and he's like, right. He's like, just get all your stuff, whatever you have done, you know, I talked with him, got some stuff. And then after I got off the phone with them, I'm in my office and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't start with the state attorney's office for another month and a half. Like I have no job right now. Like I have no job for a month and a half because I had to resign effective now. Like I literally have.
Hope you had some vacation time that you could cash out.
So, well, I had already just like we were going to take some of the transfer. I was going to go to the state attorneys and use some of my time for that, which I didn't. Like I needed that because I was going to have to start a new job and run a campaign. And so I was like in full panic mode. So I call Walter, who's like the second in charge at the state attorney's office for our circuit. And I'm talking with him and I'm like, hey, I was like, I know you said that I could start early if I wanted to, like, is that offer still there? And I had already talked to him.
And by the way, I'm running for a judge.
Well, I had already talked. He was on my list of people to call first thing in the morning. Yeah. And he already knew because the other candidate was also a state attorney. And so he's like, I already know. And I was like, I'm so sorry. This wasn't. And he's like, I understand. Like, I get that you didn't take the job knowing that you were going to be.
And Blake's an understanding guy. I've worked with Blake a lot.
So Blake was the office manager. So
my only issue with Blake Shore is he's a Georgia Bulldog. That's my only issue with him.
He is a huge
and I'm a Gator. So we kind of have we were at odds for that. But other than that, he's a good guy.
And it was actually a fun because I was starting right when they were having transitions as well because he was going to the homicide and we were having a new we would call him the camp counselor, but the new office.
That's what we need here. I need a camp counselor here.
So, yeah. So Blake was going out as the head at the Citrus County office and Kevin Davis was coming in. So he was actually going to be.
Love Kevin Davis.
My boss.
Kevin Davis is awesome.
But Walter and Bill, like they're the ones that actually hired. So I'm talking to them all nervous. Like I've only met Walter once. I've never really even met Bill. I mean, I did, but he didn't realize because I talked with him about something for the judges that I was dealing with him on. And yeah, so it was just a lot of things happening at the same time. But I am one of those people that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 110%. Yeah. So I would give 110% during the day, trying to learn how to be a prosecutor and kick butt as a prosecutor, while also as soon as I clocked out, then I would put 110%. So there were many days that I would run out of the courthouse right at 5 and go out and go door to door and try to do whatever I had to do for the campaign. So
I will say your campaign sign will always be my favorite. I liked the blue. I think everybody gets wrapped up into the red, white, and blue. I did it. I mean, so I'm not against that. But your sign was amazing, and I think I think of some others like JJ Grow. Like when you looked at his campaign sign, it was like popped, like it popped, like it stood out. Yours was one of those, and I think like you, no one in my family's political ever. I couldn't even. I think I know what my parents' political affiliation is now, but leading up to until I was probably 45, I had no idea. Like we just never talked about it in my family, but I mean. And so now I pay attention to campaign signs, whether we're driving all over the state of Florida. I look at them, and yours was one of the best. But anyways, I digress.
My campaign manager, I gotta give it all to her. Lindsay Tozer, she rocked it.
That sign was amazing. You are amazing. So let's kind of fast forward to primary because you only had a primary, correct?
We only had the primary.
Yeah, you're lucky. Well,
August,
I'm lucky because I didn't have an opponent this last election, but I had I had to do a primary and a general my first race. And so, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I think I earned it. I think my family earned it. The people who helped our campaign earned it. It's a big deal. And so to run unopposed the second time was nice. But let's fast forward to your primary. So what people don't understand is you have absentee ballots that get mailed in, and then you have early voting,
right,
and then you have day of election voting. So when that clock hits 7:00, the results, whatever are out, are usually indicative of what's going to happen. I mean, that's usually the case. And I can't remember, but the look on your face is probably telling me everything I need to know. But when my 7:00 results came out, I was losing.
So was I.
See, atta girl, underdogs, and luckily for the election day votes, we were able to pull it out. And I can tell you, I've done a lot of things in my career, as have you, 4-year degree, JD, parent, everything, all those good things. But by 8:00, I knew that I was going to be, I was going to be moving on to the general, which pretty much in Citrus County, I knew I was going to win at that point. Greatest feeling, I think. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool feel. All the hard work.
I could not have because we had a recount. Ours was so
Oh,
close.
Yeah, that's
it
right. Yeah, you did have a recount.
It came down to 110 votes.
Wild.
At the end, when everything was said.
What was primary, open primary for y'all? How did that work with y'all? Was it open or closed? Closed meaning only Republicans could vote for you?
Open. I think it was open.
Open.
So it was open because it was open because we're nonpartisan.
Sure.
So okay. We're nonpartisan. So everybody votes because judges are nonpartisan.
Do you, I don't know if this has ever been asked of you, but I know a lot of you are y'all down ballot? Meaning like you're not near the top of the ballot. So people have to really kind of look at the whole entire ballot to get to the judge spots.
I'm trying to remember where we are in where we were on this one, because there was actually 3 different judge races going on.
Oh, that's right. Because of the Aaron Daly one.
So
yeah.
I want to say we were kind of towards the bottom right, if I remember correctly.
I was worried. I was always worried for my race, and I apologize for using this word, but it just I don't know how else to say it. It just the property appraiser race wasn't a sexy race, right? It's not a sheriff's race. It's not a school superintendent. It's not a county commissioner. And I would imagine that's probably the same feeling for judges,
right?
There's not a lot of research being done on Amber Thomas, the staff assistant.
Right. It's hard to research because what do you research? What you're researching is, if you find stuff, you're finding what they did as a lawyer, or what they did as a prosecutor, or what they did as a defense attorney. But that's not what they're going to do as a judge. As a judge, you're sitting in a neutral position, and you're not going to look at the case as a prosecutor. As a prosecutor, your job is to prosecute the case. As a defense attorney, your job is to defend the case.
Right.
So what you do as a defense attorney, what you do as a prosecutor, what you do as a private litigator isn't going to be what you do as a judge. Because as a judge, you look at the case with blinders on. You're not looking as a litigant. You're not looking as a party. You're looking as a neutral arbitrator, saying these are the facts. This is the case law they're presenting. This is the case law they're presenting. These are the facts that either are undisputed, or these are what I'm finding to be the facts of the case.
Right.
And this is how the law applies to it. So even when you do research judges, unless it's a retention, like with the DCA and the Supreme Courts and things like that,
which everybody just marks yes to,
which people don't really, because it's hard to find, unless you know how to look it up. It's hard to find the cases that they actually wrote, because with DCA panels, it's a panel. So you have 3 judges. So unless you know how to find. For
those listeners, DCA stands for District Court of Appeals.
Yes, sorry.
She's throwing out acronyms. See, aren't you proud of me though? I knew that.
You did your research. I'm very impressed.
It's not my first rodeo.
But yeah, so with judges, it's hard to
pick
research
a winner,
them,
pick a favorite.
Right.
And here you are in a recount.
And it was very nervous.
On election day, did you win, or were you in second?
I was up by
You were up.
110 votes is how it ended.
So then when does the recount happen? The next day, 2 days,
No,
3
so
days?
it was Tuesday, the recount. The canvassing board got back together on Friday.
So you had to
do the
wait.
recount.
You couldn't
Right.
even celebrate.
And they didn't even finish Friday. They did not finish the recount because they had to recount all of the ballots.
So they had to come back on Monday?
They came back on Saturday.
Oh, whew,
they came back on Saturday, and we found out. I was actually shopping with my son and his friend.
I thought you were going to say you were at SeaWorld watching the sea lion show.
No, we were shopping, and the worst part is, so
that's where I would have been. I don't know.
Shopping is that's
your jam.
That's my stress reliever. That's my happy reliever. But my son he missed out on a lot over the summer because campaigning. Yeah. And that was something he knew. He's big into theater, and I was not able to be the theater mom that I normally am.
Maybe he's going to be an attorney. I said it's very good theater.
Oh, no. No. He's a character. But so I took him and his friend shopping, and I got I think it was an email that we got that had the link to do the announcement.
That's how you found out from a link? That's like somebody breaking up with you over text.
I was in a store because I had just said, I was on the phone and I was like, oh, I'm so my stomach is in knots. Yeah. I can't eat.
I can't
even shop right now. And then as soon as I said those words, I looked over and I was standing in front of Buckle, and they had these just beautiful blingy clogs. And I was like, okay, maybe I can. So I walked into the store and I tried them on, and I got the message as soon as I was trying the shoes on. So I'm like, these are my lucky shoes, because I saw it and I'm in.
Please tell me those are the shoes you're wearing today.
No, they are not the shoes I was wearing.
Should have.
They are blinged out fake and stocks. So they're like Birkenstocks, but they're not.
Did you use the word fake? Fake and stock?
Fake and stocks.
Okay, I got you. I wasn't sure I heard that right.
You heard it right.
I didn't know if that was Latin for something, because I know you lawyers like to use Latin.
We do. I use very little.
Very little Latin.
But yeah, so I called those my lucky shoes. I screamed in the middle.
I hope you bought them.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
For sure, I bought
maybe
them.
2 pairs.
I screamed in the middle of the store, and my son and his friend came running in because they were at the store across, and they were finished, so they were coming in. They heard me scream.
Down, they heard you scream.
They came running in, and Bryce is like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Dude, it's official." And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" And everyone in the store is looking at us like we're a bunch of idiots. And he's like, "My mom just won! My mom just won!" And yeah, so then I bought the shoes, and then it was
the rest is history.
Well, the shopping, we definitely enjoyed the rest of the shopping trip.
I bet. Probably spent more than you probably should have.
Probably, but we enjoyed the rest of the shopping trip.
Has it sunk in? Has it sunk in that you won? I mean, you swore in on the 7th, which is the same day as Sheriff Vincent. So big deal to share that with him.
Yes.
So you're 6 months into it. Still glad you did it?
100%.
100%. What would you say to the young girls, young ladies, young females that are in college and still trying to figure out whether they want to be a criminal attorney or any kind of attorney? What do you tell them?
The biggest thing is, if you have the opportunity to do an internship or to do a summer internship, anything like that, take advantage of it. Try to get as much experience in as many areas of the law.
What's going on?
I don't know. I hear something buzzing.
Okay. Don't scare me.
But
your security's not here.
But I would say take the opportunity to see what you enjoy, because what you think you may like, you may work at it and find that it's just not what you want. I don't think that there's any area of the law that's more glamorous than the other. It just depends on what area you like, because some people absolutely love working in their office and not having to be around people as much. And so they may want to go into the probate area of the law, or they may want to go into an area that you don't have as much exposure. And it all depends on the person. And if you want to go in the law, find what works for you. And if you don't know, it's okay to go to a job for a couple of years. I would say though, if you do a job, give it a couple of years, because you may hate it at first and then grow to love it. But it's okay to try different areas to see what you like.
I think one of the greatest things I love about Citrus County is our business community is very open to students coming in and sitting with them or asking questions, and the same thing. Like if I wanted to go ask any attorney a question, they'd be open to that. And our judges are the same way. You know, Judge Falvey's still there. You're still there, obviously. And so I say that to coincide with what you're saying, right? Like if somebody isn't sure, we have some amazing, amazing attorneys of all fields in Citrus County.
Yes.
Go speak to them, go sit with them, go be with them. And the future's bright. I know, because we have some great students, and I know if our students reach out to you, that's a beautiful thing. Because I know you worked your way up. You were the underdog. I get it, and I appreciate that. So we're gonna land this plane, and I am going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Oh wow, okay.
That I have not written down. That I'm going to create right in my head right at this moment.
Okay.
Let's start with this. You've already crushed my suits question, so I can't even ask that. Let's see, sweet tea, unsweet tea.
Unsweet tea with a splash of sweet tea. I'm one of those weird ones. I know. I try to cut back on my sugar. I love sugar. So
okay, me too. Diet Coke or Pepsi?
I'm not a big fan of either. I'm not a big soda person, but I'd say Pepsi.
Do you wear the fancy shoes with your robe?
Oh, you have to.
You have to?
Oh yeah. You can't see anything else, so it's good earrings and good shoes.
All right. Are you? And this is not a rapid fire question. I'm just curious. Are you and I have a follow up with this. Are you the youngest judge in Citrus County?
Ooh, I think so, but I wasn't the youngest on the bench. I think Judge Helm and Judge Fritton, when they both got appointed to the bench, I think both of them were young.
I mean, right now. Yes,
I believe so.
I was the youngest elected person for a while. Not anymore. I'm old. I'm an old crusty one now. Any regrets running?
Absolutely none.
You gonna do this forever? You gonna be a judge forever?
I hope the citizens of Citrus County support me to continue to allow me to serve them.
But are you gonna be bougie and like go up to Tallahassee and sit on, any kind of appellate court, or run for, go to DC, be a judge up there? Like, is that your aspirations? What's your future aspirations?
No, I absolutely love being a county court judge.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds silly, but like I said, my entire campaign, the reason I really wanted to be a county court judge is because county court is the people's court.
Sure. And
you have the ability to talk to people. You have the ability to deal directly with them. Most of them do not have attorneys. And I went into law to be able to help people. And even as a judge, I'm not able to directly, but I can explain. And there have been multiple times where the person, I have one case in particularly, it was just one of those days, and I had this case and I did not rule in favor of the plaintiff, but I explained why I ruled the way that I ruled. And he walked out, and him and his wife both said, "We don't like the ruling, obviously, but we really appreciate you explaining to us why you ruled that way, so that we can use that for future experiences." And it just, that day was like, this is why I want to be a county court judge. Because
but that goes back to Carney's story.
Exactly.
Right. So that's the full circle moment back to that. I will tell you, I love Citrus County. I love being the Citrus County property appraiser. And a lot of people have asked me that question. Do I have any future aspirations to go anywhere else? Tallahassee, DC. Nope. I'm right where I need to be. And there's a lot of things that I can do right here in Citrus County. Would you be nervous if I showed up in your courtroom one day in the audience and just sat there and watched? Would you be nervous?
No, I think it's great for people to come in and see. I think
it's a great invitation.
A lot of times now, some of the stuff that I do that I'm actually in the courtroom for, public can't necessarily come in.
Gotcha.
But I think it's great for people to see how the court courtroom runs. A lot of
Go to
times
any of the courtrooms.
everybody's expectations of the court is what they see on TV, and that's not how the court is run. And
You
I
mean it's
think
not going to be solved in an hour?
No,
That's not real.
The crime is not committed and solved, and a jury's back within an hour.
So fast.
Yeah, I know.
It's convenient. It's like everybody gets a trophy in sports. We're not going to do that. Well, Your Honor, Judge Thomas, Judge Amber Thomas, friend, I appreciate you joining our show. I hope you had a good time. It was a good conversation, and we do invite everybody. Go be a part of the process. Go attend your jury duty. Go sit in one of the courtrooms and see how amazing our judges are. And it is a beautiful process. I love it. I think it's a great process. But listen, say something nice to a friend, change their day, and I hope you have a great week.